of the world. I try to act so cool, but you know I'm just a fool for you. For you. I will stop till I reach the top just to be there with you.
Hey everyone, welcome back. Just we keep getting you every time.
No, I was like, I just turned down my light, so it's not like blinding me. So I'm so excited.
Oh my gosh, I know. I feel like mine just like doesn't want to get bright enough. So
Oh my
everyone, thank you
gosh.
for still hanging in there with us. It's amazing. More and more of you keep coming. It's
It's
fantastic.
been flying. Time has been flying. What are we on the third? Fourth. The fourth
I
panel.
know. Can you imagine? Like that's crazy. We've already done 3 hours of this, Jess.
I can't believe it. It just feels like we just started.
I know, but it's also fascinating. That's why, time flies when you're
Yeah,
having fun.
notes, man. I'm learning so much. It's so much
awesome.
fun.
Oh my
Oh, I
gosh.
can't
So
wait
we're
for
going to
this
have
next
an
one.
amazing, I know we're going to have an amazing panel. So this time we are going to be talking about women researchers in the field of ufology, and we have some amazing people. So let's just bring them out and get started so we don't waste any time. All right. So we have the amazing and interesting Miss Cheryl Costa. Welcome to the show, Cheryl.
How you doing? How you doing?
I'm doing well, thanks. How are you? Nice to see you.
Fantastic. The whole stream this afternoon has been fantastic.
Right? We've had some amazing women on. It's incredible.
That last panel was right there.
Yeah, they're awesome. They're
Amazing.
firecrackers. Every single one of them. Love them. All right. And you know her. You love her. We have
Hey!
What's
up, guys? Thanks for letting me come on. I'm humbled. Hi, Cheryl. I'm a big fan. I love your research.
Thank you.
And we have 2 of our Spaced Out Radio, 2 of our own. We have the beautiful Miss Gemma Jade. Hey, Gemma, welcome.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited and nervous.
Oh, you'll do great. You'll be awesome. And we have the beautiful Bree, aka Thin Lizzie Borden. Welcome to the show. All right, guys. So we are going to be talking female researchers in the field of ufology, which you all fall under that. So let's just get right into it. Just, I know like this is your thing.
This is a little more my thing. This is a little more my thing. I'm a little more comfortable here. The past couple of ones, I was like, I don't know what's going on here. But I do want to, since we all are all female researchers in this field, how did everybody get into the topic of UFO research? I mean, I guess we can start with, I guess whoever likes to start, and we'll just go around from there. Cheryl, please.
Let's see. I've gotten through a whole 32-year career in aerospace, 10 years in the military, and I was at the working for a newspaper post-retirement from aerospace. And on November 5th, 2012, CNN, I was looking at CNN one night after the presses were running, and there was a little sidebar story, maybe 150 words, and it said, UFOs have been declining since the 80s. Maybe they were always just an urban legend. Now, I've been well read on the topic matter of UFOs since I was in high school. And I said, but I always had clearances, so I couldn't do anything about it, couldn't be visible. And I said, that sounds like misinformation. So I started doing some research, and that little bit of research really woke me up to some things. And I went out and pitched to another newspaper the idea of doing a weekly column on UFOs. And of course, of writing a weekly column, it's a 500-word term paper every Thursday. And it basically it amounted to doing UFO statistics. And that's how I got there.
Oh, wonderful. Who wants to go next?
I'll go. It was kind of weird how I got into it. I just kind of made a comment on Missing Persons Mysteries channel and ended up writing scripts for them. And then I met Dave Scott through a couple of interviews from a book I had done about the Fae. And I started watching Spaced Out Radio, just because I just loved Dave. And then Lynn, I saw you and I was like, oh man, I started getting really interested. And it's the craziest thing because once I did, that's when I started with repressed memories coming up about UFOs, which made me want to start researching even more. So something I was terrified of my entire life was outer space, UFOs, and extraterrestrials, and for no reason. So really, it was just kind of getting to know some of the people in the field and listening to what they had to say. I was already researching, true crime. I was researching the Fae. I was already kind of starting to tiptoe into it.
Mhm.
But once I wrote my book on the Fae and started being interviewed by people in the field, specifically Dave Scott, which is crazy that I ended up working for SOR now and doing the after hour show. And Lynn, you've been like a mentor to me. And I just love all the ladies on here. I actually put this up. It was like, this is us ladies today.
Aw.
But it was really just by listening to people tell me their stories and really wanting to know more. Being a psychic, when I do true crime, it's like I'm working with the deceased, but now it was like I get to actually interview people and listen to people, and it was really interesting for me, and I had to get involved.
Awesome.
Cool.
Would you like to go, Bree?
Oh, sure. It's so
I thought you were getting ready to.
so my I keep his picture. This is my grandpa.
Oh, there you go.
He actually saw a UFO in the 80s, and so he had courage to come out and tell the family about it. And so ever since I've been a little girl, I've always been into UFOs, aliens, cryptids. But my mom played a movie, a Lifetime alien movie, when I was a little girl, and it freaked me out so bad. I was like, turn it off, turn it off, turn it off, and she wouldn't. And so now I'm like, I've always felt like maybe it's because why my reaction was that way was because of my experiences. And if my grandpa saw a UFO, maybe it, how they always say it runs in, families. So it's like, yeah, I've always been intrigued by it. So ever since, I've been a little girl, so this stuff is literally in my blood.
Amy?
Yes. Oh man, it's so fascinating to hear how everybody got here.
Exactly.
So I think for me, it was always really young, was really into it. I always wanted to read like everything I could possibly read about it. What a little like sightings, Close Encounters episodes, Ancient Aliens, just like consumed that stuff. And then in 2013, I saw what I believed to be was a TR-3B in my neighborhood. No one believed me. I was completely shocked by the response of people telling me that I was crazy. And this was pre-April 2020, before we had all of those videos that came out and were confirmed. And so once those videos were confirmed, I was like, oh my gosh, this is real. And then 2020 hit, and I was just I think everybody shifted their thought patterns. And then I was like, I'm done. I'm going to jump on these shows too. I'm going to do it. And that's what I did, and that's how I got here. And I'm so happy I did it a long time ago, because I'm just so blown away by the community and how amazing everybody is. Because like I watched Jess, and I was always in the chats like, "What's up?" I was like, "Oh, this is the best show ever." And so that's how I got into like being out there talking about it, being on YouTube, the whole UFO stuff. Yeah, always an interest, but to be actively talking about it, that didn't happen until August of 2020.
Yeah, no, and I'm so happy to see that you've like come out, Amy, because I remember when you were in the chat rooms, and I'm like, hell yeah, Amy's coming out. She's gonna do her own show, and you have done fantastic. It's been so awesome to watch you and watch how you've grown as a researcher.
It's a wild ride, that's for sure. Yeah, it's a wild ride, but that's what makes it fun. You have to be into the wildness, I think.
Yeah.
If you're not ready for the random, you shouldn't get into this.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Bree, Sovereign Cosmic Wildman, I could say it, wants to know what movie it was that you saw. Oh, I think you're muted.
I have to remember. I have to look it up, but it was like Visitors in the Night. But it had DJ from Full House when she was an actress in her
Candace
teenage
Cameron
years.
Bure.
Yes, it had her in it. But I always, it freaked me out. And it's just like the aliens freaked me out. And it's like only certain aliens freaked me out. And it's like I've never been afraid of. I was a kid, I wasn't afraid of Boogie Monster or this or that. I always was afraid of aliens and walking by myself, in the house. So it's like I've always, I have gifts. So, it's looking back on these things, it's like, oh, like I put it 2 and 2 together that, oh, I did have certain signs of something when I was younger. You just don't know about it.
Yeah, definitely.
It's so crazy that you said that, because I recently put together some things from when I was little and being terrified of it as well, seeing ghosts and spirits, never even thinking that it might be extraterrestrial until I realized that the shadow people I was seeing that have been following me my whole life and giving me telepathic messages, like shadow people don't do that. So most likely it was extraterrestrials. But as a kid, I was just, I don't know. I like you said, you don't put it together. So it's just strange how it all comes together. And I kind of just tiptoed into this community, and then it blew up for me. And now I'm making all these connections. It's amazing.
That's awesome. So I have a question for all of you. Do you think, now being women in this field of ufology, do you feel like there's a unique perspective as a female researcher? Whoever wants to go.
I would say yes.
Yeah.
For sure, there's a unique perspective because Linda and I, as statistical researchers, have literally had interviewers say, well, aren't there some men doing this? I'm going, and that's why we've picked up the moniker, the mothers of UFO statistics, so.
Love it.
But yeah, it's a unique perspective because a lot of people I know when we started with doing this about 7 or 8 years ago, a lot of people push back and say, you can't be in this field.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Did they give you a reason why they said that?
I got a lot of pats on the head, as they say.
Yeah.
Okay. And I'm the calm one of the two of us. Linda is the real scientist. I got the top hat and the cane and entertainment writing degree. She's the real scientist of the two of us. And it really infuriated her because we were doing serious science. And from our viewpoint, what we'd seen over the years in UFOs was nothing but stories. How about some numbers? And that's what the New York Times, when our first book of statistics came out, said, wow, somebody did some science.
Yeah, absolutely. What about you, Amy?
Yes, I think that the field is, quenched and needs to be, given water with divine femininity all over. The demographic is 15% women, 85% men in these chat rooms. And some of our ladies out there, man, we're all a wild bunch, and a lot of them get on and start shows. So I think I'm seeing some transformations. I don't know how much I want to get into it, but with the science of people and the way people act, women are natural collaborators. And, like, it's just how chicks are. We're like, oh, do you need an orange? Here's an orange. Oh, you're feeling bad? Okay, well, here's an aspirin. We're always taking care of each other. That's just how, like, I don't know how, just when you're divinely feminine, that's what you do. And so I see these connections kind of happening throughout the community. And I just see this, like, these energies between the masculine and the feminine kind of like calming down. And it's really fascinating to watch and kind of be part of and to see it all unfold, because I think it's going to calm everybody down.
Yeah,
I think it's just going to calm everybody down.
Well, and so like with us, for like researchers, or like if anyone who is an experiencer wants to tell someone about it, I mean, they, when you go see your gyno, they ask you if you want a male or female doctor. And so some people are more comfortable around a certain, either or. And so when, it's nice to have diversity and the option of having a little bit, various styles. And so there's, we're all unique, and there's another person out there that is a good match to help us, with whatever we want to.
Agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. What do you think, Gemma?
I mean, I agree. I was thinking when you first asked the question, I know for me, it's kind of like what Amy had said, where it's like, we're always looking to help each other. I mean, at my age and at this stage in what I'm doing, it's like I was expecting so much drama and cattiness. I kind of shied away from getting to know anyone really but you, Lynn. I really was just like, I don't want to. But now that I've kind of come out of that shell and started doing SOR and getting to know Bree and finally getting to meet Amy face to face, and everyone's just been so amazing. And I really do feel like it is kind of like such an easier time collaborating with the females, because we really talk to each other more, and we have an emotional backup to it, and we're more understanding and patient. And I mean, the guys on SOR, I've got to say, are very, very easy to work with.
They are, yes.
I was very surprised coming in with the welcome I got, and it's just great.
Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I found, actually, even just planning this, when we kind of announced, everyone that was going to be in it, I got, well, what about this woman? What about this woman? What about this woman? And I was like,
I got a battle.
More amazing women than I even realized. It's awesome. It's really cool.
Hey, Lynn, have you ever noticed though? Let's see, we're going back a few years, but you go to major UFO conferences and you start looking at the makeup of the audience. It's either 60 to 75 or 80% women, but we have an all-male, in some cases, an all-male presentation set, and that's got to stop, guys. They got to mix it up,
Yeah, absolutely. You're right, Cheryl. It absolutely is. Yeah, you'll have, like maybe one or two women, and that's about it. So hopefully we'll start to see the shift coming, especially as more of, every one of us here has, a show or a podcast of some sort. So hopefully with more and more women coming forward and doing that, which seems to be the trend, like you were saying, Amy, maybe we'll see more and more women at the conferences. That would be amazing.
Definitely.
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask everybody, because I've had my own difficulties. What do you find is difficult about being a female researcher?
Oh, for me, honestly, it's not being recognized for the research, or being kind of like what you said, Cheryl, like patted on the head, or told I look pretty, like no one's paying attention to. And don't get me wrong, compliments are beautiful, and I'm definitely not complaining, but sometimes I will sit there and literally write in the chat, well, do you realize that I'm also an accomplished writer? Or and I have to actually speak my credentials or type my credentials or my accomplishments, because nobody's paying attention to that, because my hair looks pretty today, or my shirt is a little low cut, or and that has been a major problem. And like I said, I'm not saying compliments are about my parents are terrible, but when it comes to something where I'm doing serious research and I'm putting myself out there, I want to be acknowledged for that. Do you know what I mean? Or at least listen to. Do you know? At least take what I'm saying, hear what I'm saying. So that's been my biggest issue, I guess, with being a researcher, with female researcher.
I think the biggest one for this household is people thought the name on a book was Cheryl Costa and Linda Miller Costa, and everybody thought, was she your sister-in-law or something? And I said, no, we're married, and I literally had to go into the 2019 conferences, and I was booked someplace every 2 weeks for the year, and I put 5 additional slides in the beginning, and I said, hey, I'm a trans woman. Oh, by the way, this is who I used to be. And oh, by the way, here's my wife and I being married. And if you can't deal with us, you'll never deal with ET.
True.
I was expecting to get stoned, but we got a 600-person standing ovation. So
Good for you.
but it had to be said, because bad enough being discounted as a woman, as you said, looking at your hair or something like that. Hey, I'm a frumpy old lady. I get to be, okay. So, but people judging you on your looks and not the fact that we did, 6,000 hours worth of research with the work we've done. That's the point. And nobody else has ever done this kind of work. That was our biggest thorn in our side, that we were being judged because we were woke women, or me. People were saying, hey, she's an artificial woman, whatever the deal. But the bottom line was, we did serious research, and all we wanted to do was pay attention to the research. Don't worry about us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I am used to being one of the only females in anything I do, because I'm a metalhead, and there's like one or two women like that like it on that go to a show on their own versus like doing it for their boyfriend. So, I'm a cannabis advocate. I have endometriosis and chronic pain. And so in that industry and field, it's majority male. So it's like, it's always been my life of doing things that it's been a majority, run by males. But as females, we will get criticized about our looks first, versus if we're co-hosting with the man, or if I'm resting my face naturally, I'll get smile. But no, the man won't get that. Women, it's so quick to judge women on their physical appearance, and that's what a lot of people do, I feel like. Yeah.
No, I just want to jump in. I definitely agree. And it's been the same for me. Like being raised by my dad and 5 uncles, and like I've always been the only female in everything, just because that's kind of how it turned out, which is why I was so nervous coming into this, but I definitely agree with you about the smile. I get it all the time. And if you'll notice on the After Hours show, I'll just randomly be like, because I noticed that I'm not smiling, I feel like I'm like cheerleading again.
It's like you have to put in those hooks.
And that's how I'll be like typing, just regular face, just typing, and then it'll be like, "What's wrong with Gemma?" Or someone will be like, "Oh, look at her there, she's mad already." And like they start, I'm just like, guys, I'm typing. This is just how my face looks when I'm not like this. Yeah. Sometimes we're talking about serious things, and people will be like, "Smile." So then there I am like this, while we're talking about like death and destruction. And I'm like, but it's true. Bree, you are so spot on.
Oh, man.
When I first started doing these podcasts and things with the camera, I got people say to me, "Oh, why don't you smile more?" I cut out a picture of Ricardo Montalban as Mr. Rourke, and had it taped up here next to the camera, and a little bubble on it saying "Smiles, everyone."
I'm just ready to get like a tapestry of me smiling, so I could just kind of, it really is like gets that bad some nights. But I mean,
like
I've kind of learned to accept it, unfortunately.
Yeah, you just gotta get to the point where I'm at, where you're like, what?
It's like I'm just sitting here, like I'm typing. I'm gonna be like this still on
Full time.
Relax, You're
I was
lucky
kind of finding
makeup on, You're lucky I'm wearing a shirt. Like
yeah,
that
right.
like,
I know that's
pattern,
the thing. Yeah,
I get dressed for this, okay? At least
None
from
of us
the bottom
look like
up,
this
or
in real life.
Or the top up, right?
Yeah,
I've
for
got
the waist
sweatpants
up, I'm
on.
dressed for you, okay? That should be enough.
The
I have
audience
my
already knows
Golden
I
Girl
wear pajama
pants on.
bottoms.
I have my
Pretty much
pajama
every
bottoms
show.
on too.
I dressed up. I've got jeans on for you guys tonight.
It's like
Ooh.
Jeans on.
that should be enough. I have to smile too. This is not for me.
I haven't touched jeans in a while with
A
all the
long time for me.
weight fluctuation.
When people are like, "Oh, just put something in your pocket," I'm like, sweatpants or yoga pants. I don't have pockets.
Yeah.
Like,
Yep.
We're wearing sweats bottoms tonight.
Nice. Yes.
I'm all about the sweats. Yoga pants are for if you have to leave, I guess.
Yeah, those are the nice.
It
nice
holds
loungewear.
everything. They hold everything together for humanity.
Oh, okay. Let's address this, ladies. The worst critics are other women. What do we think about that?
Yes. Well, I know my mom,
Well, moms are a category in and of themselves.
an example, but I know, I feel yes, and when you are harshly criticized by another woman, it kind of feels like it might hurt a little closer, from my opinion.
That's kind of what I was saying coming in. That's what I thought it was going to be, because that's how it's been my entire life, which is why I was usually the only female with a whole bunch of guys, because they didn't ridicule or criticize me. They thought the fact that I saw spirits was cool, but
That's awesome.
coming into this, I thought that I was going to get a lot of that from the females. And that's why, like I said, Lynn, aside from you, I didn't go out of my way to talk to anybody, or I was like, oh, here we go. But no, I haven't experienced that for the most part from the females that I'm working with. I do get a lot in the comments. I'll notice literally 90% of my trolls are female. And it's trolling about my looks. Again, not the fact, not my information or what I'm presenting. It's, your lipstick is ugly, your ears are too big, your hair is dumb, like things that, and I'm like, I spent 5 hours researching this and like 3 hours putting it together for you, and you're worried about, my earrings don't match my shirt. And it's just, I don't know what it is. But as far as the women in this community that I've met so far, I have not had that experience really at all, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest, at like conferences, I've had less problems with the women criticizing me, but I've had more than my share of men criticizing me to my face. And in some cases, and I hate to almost say this, but doing it in a threatening way. Step into the alcove there in the hotel to get a drink of water out of a drinking fountain and find yourself cornered.
Ugh.
Okay, and it happened to me 3 or 4 times at a couple of different conventions. And finally, I had to get the story around it and make sure people understood this. I got a couple pictures taken with a Vietnam veteran hat and said, guys, I'm a combat veteran. Don't mess with me.
Yeah.
I love it.
Absolutely. And I'm with you right there, Cheryl. I haven't had like many women like criticize. The only like critiques that I've had, or we'll say it nicely, critiques, are men.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too.
It's interesting.
Well, I at one of the conferences, and okay, so we've already admitted I'm a trans woman. Okay, so I got a good one for you. Had a guy come up to us at one of the conferences, and we had some of our statistics book sitting on the table, and he's sitting there thumbing through it. He slammed it shut, so to speak, pounded on the book. Did you get a man to check these numbers?
What? Ouch.
And I sat there to catch my breath from hearing that.
Throat punch.
And I said, don't worry, I have one home in a jar. It went over him, but the 3 or 4 other people who'd been there at the convention know me, and they're falling off their chairs. They're in the vendor room,
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
Cheryl.
Sorry for the cast joke.
I love it. I love it. That's amazing. Oh my god. Everybody else is loving it too. Ooh, sorry. That is amazing. So, okay, so kind of getting back to the research side of things. So, we have a variety here amongst us, of people that have been in a little bit longer, people that are newer. So we have lots of perspectives, right? A variety of perspective here. So what do you feel like, if there's one area of research in ufology that needs to be focused on a little more, what do you think that would be? Anyone?
Okay. Go ahead, please.
Yes, I would say government disclosure. Thank you, Cheryl. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, government disclosure. is what I think we need to focus on. Because the thing is that, everybody knows when they figure it out that they know, and they get enough facts and enough people that they believe. Like if your best friend in the whole wide world came up and said, "Hey, I saw an alien, it was real," you'd be like, "Oh my gosh, okay, now I know it's real because my best friend, who I trust more than anything, and I know they're not crazy, told me that." And so for like the general public to accept it, it has to be the government, right? The government has to say extraterrestrials are real, and then everyone will be like, it's real.
Yeah.
So I think that is important because it kind of goes back to that Reagan speech, right? Where he says, "Isn't it interesting how humanity would suddenly become just humans if we realized there was an extraterrestrial force that could like take us down," right? Or he didn't say it just like that, but you know what I mean.
That's
And
correct.
and I think that also kind of like feeds into this sort of divine femininity. I think we're leveling up on planet Earth. I think we're definitely leveling up. I think we're ready. The government can tell us, and then we can all kind of look around and be like, maybe we should work as a planet to like fix as many bad problems as we can. I think it could shift the perspective, and I think that's why it's important to push it.
Can I interject at this point?
Yes, I am done. I'm done.
Back this past summer, about the same time all the Jeremy Corbell videos were coming out. Okay, and we had just finished publishing our second statistics book. We call it the Pink Book. Okay, Pink Book was because in 2019 I was called by the usual suspects in DC and said, if Rubio gets his bill passed, we know none of us saw COVID coming, right? Okay.
Yeah.
But if we get the bill passed, maybe sometime in 2020 or maybe 2021, there'll be congressional hearings. Okay. Of course, COVID hit us and that put the knickers to everything. But so we got our 2020 book out, 2001 to 2020 statistics. And we made it pink because we figured if we were going to end up in front of a congressional hearing, we wanted everybody to know it was made by a couple of women. Okay, point one. It's bright pink. You can flag in an aircraft with it. And the other point was we wanted to have something that we could send to them. So this past summer, we made 2 packages. They ended up being 5 pounds apiece. Both packages had a copy of the Pink Book. They had a very terse, very short, right to the point business executive summary type of letter. Okay. And what also was in there, this is Rubio's. Florida is the number 2 state in the country for sightings. In the last 20 years, over 11,000. I printed out all the sightings in Florida by county and down to the zip code level, and it was over 1.5 inches thick. Put it in a 3-ring binder, put it in the thing, 5-pound package, wrapped it up. Did the same thing for that was for the Senate Intel Committee, and I did the same thing for the House Intel Committee, and we shipped them off to them. And the letter basically gave them some high-level statistics in the first 4 sentences and said, if you need the civilian experts on the numbers, we are happy to come talk to you. Okay, and basically that was our idea of saying, okay, we were both government contractors in our careers, and you spend your entire government contract career avoiding testifying before Congress. So this was a very difficult thing for us to stick our necks out to do, But and it was not long after that we hear Senator Gillibrand, who was the senator from my home state, say, yeah, we need to do something about this. So I was very, because I know her office had a copy of our original statistics book. So that's kind of where I thought we needed to do. We needed to be able to reach out to these people.
I agree with the government. Sorry, Brie.
Oh, no.
I agree with the government disclosure, and also just I don't even know what it would be called or how to go about it. I'm really new to this field, but I really think someone a while ago in the comments said they believe that like 90% of experiencers, abductees, contactees, whatever, don't come forward. And if I wasn't in this community, would I have come forward with the memories that I had recently found? No, I would probably think I was going insane. So finding a way to make people more comfortable to come forward, I guess having this community on YouTube, having groups run, and maybe if the government ever decided to give full disclosure and actually do it, that might make people say like, oh, hey, I'm not crazy. This really is going on. Look, this is what the government's saying and everyone's been saying it. So let me come forward. I think there's so much we don't know and so much we're at risk not knowing for a long time because everyone's experience is unique. So what if people experience that we haven't even heard of yet, or we haven't even, you know what I mean? Like I wouldn't even know how to go about doing it. I don't know what it would be called, but I really wish that, you know, more people would feel more comfortable coming forward and not be scared or feel crazy.
Gemma, to complement what you just said, we discovered through polling data and the actual sighting report data, only 1 in 255 people reports what they see.
I knew it.
Yeah. I'm more of the experiencers angle. I'm not, you know, disclosure is, you know, a secondary, but I am more about the people and so that part of it intrigues me about like people that have been abducted and then having, you know, scans of their brain and it actually changing, and, you know, about women being pregnant and then they are abducted and then come back and then no fetus. So it's like there's these things that it's like I feel like society it's UFOs have been less taboo of a subject, I think, because everyone's talking about it. And so I like the experiencer angle of the field.
And that's what I really enjoy about this panel too, is we have people, you know, we have like Cheryl, she's very statistical and very, you know, very scientific. And then we have Bree and Gemma, and they're talking about like experiences. And then we have Amy, who's also had an experience and also like a proponent for UFO disclosure. You know, it's so great that to have all these different areas of ufology and everybody just pushing for the same thing. So I don't know if anybody can answer this one. So where do you guys see the field of ufology in 5 years?
Out of this world. Wherever it's going, it's out of this world. I don't.
Yeah, I agree.
I think you're going to see the idea of the consciousness side, the mystical side, get a little bit more traction. Okay, I'll give you an example why. When people see a UFO and they've never seen one before, it changes their view of reality. I lived in a Buddhist monastery for 7 years, and one of our lamas told us there was so much going on around us of a paranormal nature that if people just made their view of reality a tad more elastic, they would be aware of it. Okay, and he felt the same way about ET. And when the conversation I had with Ray Hernandez from the Dr. Edgar Mitchell Foundation, we were talking about how people, the experiences were coming back, and he explained the story of a Bible thumper coming back spiritual, an agnostic coming back spiritual. Okay, and he looked at me and he said, "Cheryl, ET's trying to turn us all into mystics." And just seeing a UFO sudden and really registering with you changes that view of reality. So them showing themselves so much, they're trying to touch us. They're trying to expand our view of the greater reality from a mystic view, I believe.
I mean, I know we have 3 witches on this panel speaking, you know, so it's. Oh,
I'm kind of a witch.
Oh,
I don't
yeah.
know. Lynn and I talked about it. I think I am.
44 years.
I'm so glad we're on
And
this
I'm also a
panel and I got
Christian.
to meet you.
Have one, we'll travel.
Yeah, that's what Cheryl and I ended up talking about mostly during our episode that we did together. It was witchcraft. It was great.
I'm a bruja, Mexican.
Let's take that one point for a moment. What is witchcraft? People can dress it up for the last 5 centuries worth of bad press by the medieval church, or you can look at it as one of my students says, it's whimsy, it's this, it's counterintuitive, it's that, and I said, and what don't you like about quantum physics?
Mm-hmm.
That's what advanced
Good.
magic is. It is turning thought into form, and anybody who knows quantum physics, if you look at it, it changes. So.
Absolutely.
And I
right.
know with being what I call myself a Christian witch, and I don't even like saying witch because it gets such a bad rap. People will say something like about the fact that I'm really into astrology and read, and I'm like, that's the oldest science there is. It's science. It's not astronomy, astrology. It's literally science. Like, what are you talking about? It's just maybe because you haven't taken the time to expand your mind to put it into action or to really understand it. And the word witch, like I said, even just saying it, people are like, and it's like, how have we not progressed in all hundreds of years since the witch trials? Have we not learned from that? Because
I try to cloak it a little bit by saying magical adept.
I love it because we're still looking at people who say I'm a witch, no matter what kind you are, and being like, the first thing that comes to mind, the first question I get asked is, like, dark magic, or are you a good witch or a bad witch? You dark magic or black magic? I'm like,
Yeah. Are you dark or light? Are you
for
good
me,
or bad?
the distinction is there's really no distinction. I'm just working with nature and
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I've had people. I specifically use the word witch for those very reasons, just to to reclaim it. But I've had people say maybe you should say Wiccan. It's a little more acceptable. And I was like, but I'm not Wiccan, and there's a reason why I use the word witch.
Yes.
I am a witch.
I
Don't like
say
it.
that
That's
too.
your
I'm like,
problem, not mine.
Wiccan's the religion, I believe. And I'm like, but I'm not that. I'm Christian. And I get hell for that. For they're like, how could you be both? And I'm like,
yeah, that's
listen.
a tough one.
But you're a mystical Christian.
Exactly. Christian witch, mystical Christian. I believe what I believe, and I go to church every Sunday, believe in it, and I'm good. So
I grew up
Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
I grew up Jehovah's Witness, so it was very, very religiously strict. So we couldn't watch Harry Potter because that's witches and witchcraft. So I haven't seen it to this day. And I categorize myself as a pagan witch. And so my mom knows I have gifts. She knows, like, I'm on the cusp of Sagittarius and Capricorn. So my cusp is the cusp of prophecy. Every cusp has a different thing associated with it. And so my mom has seen my knowing stuff before it happens. And she knows I have gifts. But because she is still religious, she doesn't necessarily, I think I try not to talk about it with her. I'm not out of the closet or the broom closet to my mom, but it was always like, oh, everything is bad, you can't do it. And so I remember my uncle, when I was a little girl, called me like a pagan jokingly, and I didn't know what that was. And then when my mom was when I was a teenager, I had colored my hair by myself, and it was almost black. And my mom said, don't color your hair black, you look like a witch. And then look at where I'm at now. My family knew what I was even long before what I did.
It got me disowned and disinherited. Okay, so not every family's, and we tried to explain it to them, but they don't even want to listen to the explanation. Now, let me tell you something cool. I had a class, my last class that I taught before I retired formally, of being a priestess, and I had a class of 44 people, and classes in witchcraft are leading to a graduation a year from them. Typically dwindle down over the course of a year. You're lucky to finish with 10%. Okay, actually less than that. But the bottom line was, we were 3/4 of the class was gone, and I threw a module into my talk, into my lecture. We were doing this. This is my first virtual class I'd ever done because of COVID. Okay, so we were doing it on like a Zoom kind of thing, and I threw a module in talking about ET. talking about the greater consciousness, life out there in the universe, the whole thing, and trying to get the conversation going about the great consciousness, which we call the dark womb, the feminine force that is God in the universe, okay? God and goddess, whatever you want to call it, it's everything. And I had 2 people in the class. You can't tell us that there's people living out there. I ended up having to throw them out of the class. They showed me no flexibility. And when you're training people to be a witch, you need to have at least a little bit of flexibility with how things are. And I couldn't deal with that level of rigidity if I'm trying to teach them magic. Okay, so not everybody in the witch community is flexible.
Right.
Very true. Yes. So let's kind of take this angle here and look at like being a researcher in ufology. Do you guys feel that being a witch makes you look at this field in a different way than someone who maybe doesn't have those same beliefs?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How so?
I definitely think so. I know for me, it's because knowing what I know and being a psychic, a witch, and religious how I am, and just having all those factors come together in me, and it works because it's me. I know that I'm not going to disregard something just because it's something I've never heard before, because people have never heard of someone or something like me before. I know that it makes me definitely, in my opinion, a little more open-minded. It makes me want to really dig deeper and kind of back certain points or certain people that most people would kind of just blow off, because you know what I mean? I know what that feels like. So if I have someone that comes to me and says, I experienced this and I'm afraid to tell anybody, I'm going to be the one who's going to champion that and research it first and then get back to that person and help them, as opposed to someone who maybe doesn't have the gifts or experiences that I have in learning witchcraft, practicing magic. And I just feel like that gives me a whole different perspective and a whole different vision that I can work with for these people and for the community as a whole. I mean, I'm willing to accept anything at face value and then go research it and get back to you. You know what I mean? I never toss anything aside, no matter how far-fetched or far out it may sound. Do I get lied to sometimes? Sure. Do I get people messing with me? Sure. But I'm always going to look into it, because I don't want to be that person that says, that's way too crazy. I can't even deal. I would never do that. So.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Legion has a really good take on it, being which means having a starting point on any subject of being able to dismiss what the mass public believes is true. And I think that that's a very good point. It gives you the ability to look at it from a bigger perspective, maybe, and say, okay, I know that a lot of people might think this is a little bit crazy, but let's just kind of go with it and see where it takes us. And, like you were saying, Gemma, some of it you might throw out, some of it you might keep, and you're going to have to use your own discernment to kind of figure out what's what. But I think it does give you a bigger perspective, maybe is the better way to say it.
Like a wider angle, I think.
Yeah, I was going to say that, like I, HSP, so highly sensitive person, empath, whatever you want to call it. And so it's like, I just view life a little bit differently than what other people around me. And I used to do hair for a decade and makeup. So I have that creativity, that creative mind. So whenever you're creative, it's like I look at the world differently, or it's like I notice things that other people, they're not paying attention to. So it gives us almost like we have like another sense of that we can use to perceive things or to view it differently than what, say, someone that, doesn't have our knowledge about things.
Yeah, absolutely. So go ahead, Jess.
No, I was going to say, go ahead then.
Okay, I was going to say, so we only have a few more minutes.
Witchy, so I don't know any of this stuff. So I'm just like,
We'll bring it back in for you. So we only have about 4 more minutes left. So for people like women that are new coming into this field who are looking to either become researchers or just learn a little bit more about it, having the experiences that you have, what advice would you give them, Cheryl?
Keep an open mind. Okay, just don't get hung up on thinking that the 40s, 50s, and 60s were the golden age of UFOs, because we are in the platinum age of UFOs right now. Believe me, and that's important to keep in mind. It's big. It's bigger than just a handful of great sightings from way back when, like the greatest hits of the 40s, 50s, and 60s. We average more sightings on an average year right now than they did between 1960 and 2000. Okay, so that's a big deal. And I think if people are trying to get into it, read the best stuff. Go out there and see what's going on. See if you can afford it. Go to a conference, even if you have to go virtually. Go to a conference and take it all in, and then make some judgment calls.
Yeah, that's great advice. Amy, what about you?
Yeah, I'm just going to piggyback what Cheryl said. You got to go to the conferences. You got to get out there. You got to meet these people. You got to talk to them. I think that's kind of been one of the most eye-opening things. So I just say go on, get out there, and also just try to like manifest the truth, whether it be through some sort of piece of physical evidence or through a person. Just kind of try to put your feelers out there, be open to the universe. You will be surprised what will come your way. I think all of us know that on the panel.
And that was the first thing I thought was like coming into this, be careful, because I've learned that the more I've researched, the more I experience as far as extraterrestrials, and the more like things I'm being a person who's afraid to kind of afraid to leave my house or be in crowds. I do everything virtually, so you can do that too. I feel like I would tell someone you have to really just kind of dig in and see what fits you and where you want to go with it, and take chances and don't dismiss anything.
All right, Bree, what about you? Parting words for everyone.
I would say just do it. Like do whatever you want, and it's like don't listen to anyone, and it's easier said than done, but it's do whatever whatever is calling you. If one aspect is intriguing to you, but everyone is like, oh, you have to be curious about disclosure, like that's what's going on right now. It's like, but what if you have your curiosity is pulled to another direction? Go with that. Do what resonates with you, and just research.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thank you all so much for being with us. Another hour has just flown by. We have such an amazing, I keep saying this every panel, but it's just every panel is just amazing. Wouldn't you agree, Jess? It's incredible.
Oh, amazing. Every single panel flies by. I can't believe we're already, we have 2 more left. This is the 4th one.
Yeah,
This
the
is
4 hours in.
So much
Well,
knowledge.
let's do this again next year. This is great.
Yes. Again, I love it.
Yeah,
absolutely. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you for coming out and supporting all of the women that we've had on and that we will be having on. Amy, we will still see you, so you get to hang around. But thank you all so much for having us for coming on with us and having us have you on here. Why not?
Thank you so much, Lynn.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
guys.
you.
Have a
Yeah,
great
thank you for letting me
evening.
be on it. Yep.
Bye-bye.
See you later, Bree.
Of course.
Bye.
All right.
bye.
All right. Sorry, guys. It takes me a second.
I'm gonna click.
I know, right? Oh my gosh. Well, that was such a fun panel. They're all amazing. Yes. And Spaghetti Lee is saying it. Amazing ladies of ufology.
Amazing.
Absolutely.
Every single panel is like you're learning so much more, and
they're also different, which is great.
they're all so different. Like but the tying thing is ufology. Everybody's talking about different aspects, and I love that we're seeing all different sides of this phenomenon and people in the field.
Yeah,
I love it.
Absolutely.